Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I need to do a repot. Late in the season to do a repot. However, this is a seedling, hasn't ever bloomed before, but this is primarily I kind of feel like this is more of a bifoliate Cattleya. There are some unifoliate leaves on here, and there is a ton of new root growth. So I think this would be a really good time, especially this pseudobulb, which is the newest, has been putting out its new roots. And I'm almost getting to the point where I've waited almost a little too long because there's this really long root right down here. Can you see that right there? Very long root, but it's going down in the pot. I've got others coming all out of the pot. So I'm going to repot this. Now this is in a 4-inch and I'm going to put it in about a 4.5-inch clay pot. It's a little bit deeper of a clay pot, and then I'm going to try to get this root here to start going down into the pot. So let's check the camera angle. Let's make sure that you can see me. If not, we'll go to the overhead camera so that you can watch me repot this. Okay, we're back. I decided to go with the overhead so you can get a little bit closer and see. In here, I have got some Better Grow orchid bark. It's the only thing I've got locally. I haven't broken down yet and bought a really big bag of the Orchids. I do plan on doing that for a lot of the orchids that I'll be repotting next year. But I've also put some charcoal in here as well as some perlite, and it's just kind of a mixture of that. And I did want to get some sphagnum moss and put in it. All right, sphagnum moss is a little damp here. I mean, I'm going to dampen it. It's a little dry here. You don't really want to breathe in the sphagnum moss fine dust. And I think that's a little too much. I want not that much sphagnum moss in there in this mix. And I'm going to spray it down with some water. Get the sphagnum moss damp. Here we go. The spray bottle decides to work. You can get so much done so much faster when things work properly, right? Okay, so down in this pot here, all I've done thus far is just a broken piece of terracotta that I'm going to cover the hole with. That just keeps a lot of the small media down from going through the hole that's in the bottom, okay? Okay, let's get the little labels out here. This is Cattleya Volcano Pride, Volcano Queen. This is a large, and I really think primarily it's going to be Bifoliate Cattleya, but not the leaves, but the flowers are really dark fuchsia color. And you'll be able to see a better picture when I put that up on the screen. And it, very waxy flowers, and they are just going to be gorgeous. We're just going to use this a decorative pot here that doesn't have a hole in it. We're just going to use that for the old media. Now I need to unstake the pseudobulb here. And let's pop this out here. Now I did water this beforehand so that I could get these roots more damp, make them a little bit more pliable. And I have no idea when this was repotted. So basically I am repotting it from the company I bought this from whenever they repotted. They don't have anything on their tag as far as when they repotted this. And I don't have to get all the media out and away from the roots. I'm going to get the majority of it that I can. Whatever, as I gently tease the bark. You know, here's a root that has attached to this piece of bark, and I'm missing vellum over here, so, and it's kind of mushy, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that, and we're gonna get in here and cut that out, cut that mushy roots out there. This one here, this is dead. There's no vellum at all on this root protecting it, so it's going to be dead. Let me get some of my pruners here. They'll be ready to go. Lots of good roots here and lots of new root tips. So if the roots have attached to this little piece of bark, I'm leaving it. It'll be perfectly fine. Another mushy root. A little shake. See what else would want to fall out here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get my butane torch, and we're going to heat up the pliers, my little pruners here, so that I can cut the roots here, and I don't have to worry about transferring any virus or bacteria. It's always a good idea. Alcohol is the only thing you have. Use alcohol. But alcohol won't kill all types of pathogens. But heating up your blades will definitely do that. And I'm just passing it through that flame, getting it hot. And we'll be ready to cut off some of this dead roots here, just cooling it down just a little bit. I'm cutting dead roots, so that's perfectly fine. But if I was cutting some roots maybe that had some vellum on them, one of the good things about your shears here and heating them up is they will also cauterize the roots, and you don't have to go back in with cinnamon or anything like that to try to protect the wound that you're creating. Any of these that don't have any vellum on them, that is what I'm clipping and getting rid of first. That's quite a lot here, that some that are missing the vellum, some that are mushy. That's iffy on this one here. Okay, I think that will be good enough. Back to our little clay pot here. We're going to put a little media down here in the bottom. Okay. Now, this was the newest growth here. So even though I've got this root here coming out, I'm going to try to gently push it down so that I can get this lead here more in the center of the pot. You see that? And then I'll fill in with media around it. Now this gives me plenty of growth space. Now it's not to stop this plant at all from growing against, coming out on these back bulbs and growing. It's not going to stop it from doing that if it wants to. And it very well may do that. And that's perfectly fine. Now, there's no media that's getting underneath here, so I want to make sure with my fingers that I can try to get some of this bark underneath that space to support the plant so that it will stay upright. And then we're just going to fill in now with the rest of the media. And I'm going to be a little bit, what do I want to say, conscious of these back bulbs here. I don't want to bury those right there. So I probably will leave a void of bark and not put any right there. Just want to keep air going around that part of the plant. Make sure I get under that plant, support it. I've got all these little fine pieces here that can fall down as I'm watering. They can fall down in amongst the roots here. Just keeping an eye on where all those new root tips were going and making sure that I'm getting them down into the clay pot. I do want the roots to go down into the pot instead of having aerial roots. I just like, for myself, aesthetically, to me, it looks more pleasing if the roots are going in the pot, that you're containing it. It's fine. It's ever how you want to do it in your growing environment. That's just what I prefer to do. I know you will see tons and tons of plants and orchids, and they have a ton of aerial roots going in all different directions. And that's perfectly fine too. It's what works for your media, your environment. What works best in your environment? I'm potting this in a clay pot because I find that in my environment, growing indoors, that the clay pots and Cattleyas work way better. I usually have my Phalaenopsis growing in sphagnum moss and growing in plastic pots. And for me, that is what has worked for over 25 years. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I think that's good. We can press down on the edges just a little bit, but remember where those roots were. Like over here, we had a lot of new roots that are now touching the clay pot here. So I'm not going to press too hard down in there because I don't want to damage any of these new root tips. We've still got root tips coming out right in here. So I'm hoping that they will go on and go down into the media as they grow. And I'm going to take the rest of this sphagnum moss and I'm going to top dress it a little bit to encourage those root tips to just keep on going and go right on down in the media. A little bit of this fine part here, I think I'll put back here in the back a little bit. And as I water, it will fall down a little bit more into that cavity that I'm leaving for these back bulbs here. Okay. And then we're going to put our tags back in here. And there you go. We have now repotted this bifoliate. Bifoliates are real finicky. It's the best time is when they have new roots growing. The absolute best time to repot a bifoliate. So until next time, guys, happy orchid growing. Bye.